Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Paracueles.
Hello there. So, I'm here at Ilpidio 5 High School. A quite rainy afternoon. It hasn't stopped since this morning. So, in today's video, I'm gonna interview a teacher, specifically a language teacher, about on how they select instructional materials for classroom utilization. So I got soaking wet right now, and let's go ahead. So hello guys, so I'm here inside the classroom of Mr. Gary F. Valdez. So say hi to my vlog, sir.
Hi, hello.
Oh, okay, so let's ask him. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
So I have only one question for you, sir. So the question is, how do you select your instructional materials for classroom utilization?
Okay. Basically, we choose the instructional materials for classroom utilization by way of looking into the curriculum standards. For example, because in the DepEd, the Department of Education, competency-based instructional materials is very important. So we look into choosing the proper IMs for our students. In small schools such as this, we really need to give priority to IMs because it will catch students' attention while we are teaching in front. In that way, learning experiences through instructional materials will now be what molded into something like learning experiences.
So that was very an insightful idea from Mr. Gary F. Valdez of Ilpidio 5 High School. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. So, thank you. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Paracueles, a student from Notre Dame of Mid-Sayap College, the first Notre Dame in Asia.
How do you do today, sir? Are you
I'm
busy?
doing great. I'm doing fine amidst these hectic schedules because of this new normal. But I'm always allotting time, especially when it comes to sessions, interviews in which I can give my expertise as a teacher, especially to students like you, aspiring teachers or
Thank-
aspiring teacher.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I really appreciate your time po. Today, I'm gonna ask how you select your instructional materials for classroom utilization.
We all know that instructional materials are very necessary in classroom setup because this will aid actually the teaching learning process of the students. As a teacher, as per experience, in selecting instructional materials that I am adapting inside my classroom for classroom utilization are based on the following criteria. Number one, accuracy and visual appeal. Now I have to look at the errors of facts and errors of information. Now this material should be well written and appropriate for the audience or for my students, and it should have strong visual appeal. Visually appealing materials are very necessary, but in the high school, it's limited, but still a good visually appealing materials are still recommended. Next criteria that I'm looking for is the alignment to the standards and depth of knowledge. Now, it should be aligned with the standards set by the Department of Education. Now, efficiently, it should address these standards, and it should have appropriate depth of knowledge, questions, and even activities. Next criteria that I'm going to look at is of use and its support. This material should be easy for teachers on my part, for the students, and sometimes for the parents to use. Now, it should have a complete set of instructions, materials. I guess all of these materials are very effective, and of course, the end process of it would be the teaching learning process. If it will support the teaching learning process, then we could say that those instructional materials are effective. If the students' academic performance are increasing, that could be a manifestation that these materials are effective.
Thank you so much, sir. So, for the last question po, do you have any advice for me or give me an idea on how to choose an authentic materials for language teaching?
If I'm going to give you a piece of advice, Mr. Paracueles, as a future teacher, it would be grounded on this thing. Now, take into consideration about the individual needs and learning styles, because choosing these materials that should present information in variety of ways. Using mixed media, example, text, video, images, real world examples, graphs, etc. Make information more interesting and address learners' different learning styles. So you should take into consideration about a varied and a complicated individual needs and styles. Next would be you have to select materials that should be part of a broader implementation plan. That would mean in your course plan, in your daily plan, you should have already selected or at least an idea of what to use. Do not choose on the spot. It should be part of a longer and broader implementation plan. And you don't need to do it alone. What I'm saying here is that it should be checked by your head teacher, it should be checked by the experts, by the master teacher, or even by your principal upon selecting these materials. And next advice would be clear on what you need. It might be that you are choosing materials which are not needed actually to enhance the lesson. So try to choose only those materials which you think are very necessary in your topic. Next, try out a unit designed for a classroom. Example, you may use instructional materials which are already available in the classroom. You can post it, you can hang it on the wall. Those things can be used. So still, your instructional materials could be found anywhere in the classroom. Just be ready with that one. And you have to understand the power of the process also, Mr. Paracueles. These materials will be very helpful in processing the teaching learning process, as I have said. So you should understand the process before selecting what kind of material is appropriate for that. And make sure that the materials support the learning objectives. Anchor these materials to your objectives. What is your objective for the day? What are your objectives for the whole course? And what are your objectives for this week? So it should be anchored on that. And make the materials clear and very accessible. So I guess those are just some of the tips or advice I can give you in selecting an authentic material for your future classes.
Thank you so much, sir. I gained some very insightful knowledge about your experience also as a language teacher, and thank you so much for your time, sir. I know you are busy right now. That's it. So the respective responses of my interviewee made me further realize that there should be more factors to consider in choosing or selecting instructional materials, not just the availability but also the effectivity and the authenticity. And I hope you have gained also meaningful idea and understanding in today's subject matter. Goodbye and see you on my next vlog.